What's up, cool people? My name is Matt, aka That Random Christian Gamer. Welcome back to the Abridged Bible series, where I'm essentially using the Bible to summarize the Bible. Just taking a verse or two each chapter and using that as a way to give you the idea of what's going on in each chapter throughout the Bible. This time around, we're looking at 1 Chronicles, and for context, 1st and 2nd Chronicles are written with the intention of essentially telling the Israelite exiles why they got into their current situation in the first place. And so, with that as the backdrop, that's why we've got essentially a recap of things that already happened. But there might be some slightly different perspectives and insights into some of those events as told by the person who's writing this initially and instructing the Israelites on these things. So anyway, with the context out of the way, here we go. 1 Chronicles Abridged. Abraham was the father of Isaac. The sons of Isaac were Esau and Israel. The sons of Israel were Reuben, Simeon, Levi, Judah, Issachar, Zebulun, Dan, Joseph, Benjamin, Naphtali, Gad, and Asher. These are the sons of David who were born in Hebron. The oldest was Amnon, whose mother was Ahinoam from Jezreel. The second was Daniel, whose mother was Abigail from Carmel. The sons born to David in Jerusalem included Shammua, Shobab, Nathan, and Solomon. Their mother was Bathsheba, the daughter of Amiel. The descendants of Judah were Perez, Hezron, Carmi, Hur, and Shobal. The sons of Simeon were Jemuel, Jamin, Jarib, Zohar, and Shaul. The sons of Reuben, the oldest son of Israel, were Hanok, Palu, Hezron, and Carmi. Next to the Reubenites, the descendants of Gad lived in the land of Bashan as far east as Salika. The sons of Levi were Gershon, Kohath, and Merari. Only Aaron and his descendants served as priests. They presented the offerings on the altar of burnt offering and the altar of incense, and they performed all the other duties related to the most holy place. They made atonement for Israel by doing everything that Moses, the servant of God, had commanded them. The four sons of Issachar were Tola, Puah, Jashub, and Shimron. The sons of Asher were Imnah, Ishva, Ishvi, and Beriah. They had a sister named Sarah. Ner was the father of Kish. Kish was the father of Saul. Saul was the father of Jonathan, Malchishua, Abinadab, and Eshbaal. So all Israel was listed in the genealogical records in the book of the kings of Israel. The people of Judah were exiled to Babylon because they were unfaithful to the Lord. First of the exiles to return to their property in their former towns were priests, Levites, temple servants, and other Israelites. So Saul died because he was unfaithful to the Lord. He failed to obey the Lord's command, and he even consulted a medium instead of asking the Lord for guidance. So the Lord killed him and turned the kingdom over to David, son of Jesse. So there at Hebron, David made a covenant before the Lord with all the elders of Israel. And they anointed him king of Israel, just as the Lord had promised through Samuel. These are the numbers of armed warriors who joined David at Hebron. They were all eager to see David become king instead of Saul, just as the Lord had promised. All these men came in battle array to Hebron with the single purpose of making David the king over all Israel. In fact, everyone in Israel agreed that David should be their king. So David summoned all Israel, from the Shihor Brook of Egypt in the south all the way to the town of Lebo-Hamath in the north, to join in bringing the ark of God from Kiriath-Jearim. When the Philistines heard that David had been anointed king over all Israel, they mobilized all their forces to capture him. But David was told they were coming, so he marched out to meet them. So David did what God commanded, and they struck down the Philistine army all the way from Gibeon to Gezer. David now built several buildings for himself in the city of David. He also prepared a place for the ark of God, and set up a special tent for it. Then David summoned all Israel to Jerusalem to bring the ark of the Lord to the place he had prepared for it. They brought the ark of God and placed it inside the special tent David had prepared for it. And they presented burnt offerings and peace offerings to God. David arranged for Asaph and his fellow Levites to serve regularly before the ark of the Lord's covenant, doing whatever needed to be done each day. For when you die and join your ancestors, I will raise up one of your descendants, one of your sons, and I will make his kingdom strong. He is the one who will build a house, a temple for me, and I will secure his throne forever." So David reigned over all Israel and did what was just and right for all his people. The Ammonite troops came out and drew up their battle lines at the entrance of the city, while the other kings positioned themselves to fight in the open fields. When Hadadezer's allies saw that they had been defeated by Israel, they surrendered to David and became his subjects. After that, the Arameans were no longer willing to help the Ammonites. After this, war broke out with the Philistines at Gezer. As they fought, Sibbecai from Hushah killed Saph, a descendant of the giants, and so the Philistines were subdued. These Philistines were descendants of the giants of Gath, but David and his warriors killed them. Then the angel of the Lord told Gad to instruct David to go up and build an altar to the Lord on the threshing floor of Araunah the Jebusite. So David gave Araunah 600 pieces of gold in payment for the threshing floor. Then David said, "This will be the location for the temple of the Lord God, and the place of the altar for Israel's burnt offerings." Then David sent for his son Solomon, and instructed him to build a temple for the Lord, the God of Israel. Then David divided the Levites into divisions named after the clans descended from the 3 sons of Levi, Gershon, Kohath, and Merari. And so, under the supervision of the priests, the Levites watched over the tabernacle and the temple, and faithfully carried out their duties of service at the house of the Lord. With the help of Zadok, who was a descendant of Eleazar, and of Ahimelech, who was a descendant of Ithamar, David divided Aaron's descendants into groups according to their various duties. All tasks were assigned to the various groups by means of sacred lots, so that no preference would be shown, for there were many qualified officials serving God in the sanctuary from among the descendants of both Eleazar and Ithamar. David and the army commanders then appointed men from the families of Asaph, Heman, and Jeduthun to proclaim God's messages to the accompaniment of lyres, harps, and cymbals. Here is a list of their names and their work. All these men were under the direction of their fathers as they made music at the house of the Lord. Their responsibilities included the playing of cymbals, harps, and lyres at the house of God. Asaph, Jeduthun, and Heman reported directly to the king. These were the divisions of the gatekeepers from the clans of Korah and Merari. Other Levites, led by Ahijah, were in charge of the treasuries of the house of God and the treasuries of the gifts dedicated to the Lord. This is the list of Israelite generals and captains and their officers who served the king by supervising the army divisions that were on duty each month of the year. Each division served for 1 month and had 24,000 troops. All these officials were overseers of King David's property. David summoned all the officials of Israel to Jerusalem, the leaders of the tribes, the commanders of the army divisions, the other generals and captains, the overseers of the royal property and livestock, the palace officials, the mighty men, and all the other brave warriors in the kingdom. So now, with God as our witness, and in the sight of all Israel, the Lord's assembly, I give you this charge. Be careful to obey all the commands of the Lord your God, so that you may continue to possess this good land and leave it to your children as a permanent inheritance. And now, because of my devotion to the temple of my God, I am giving all of my own private treasuries of gold and silver to help in the construction. This is in addition to the building materials I have already collected for his holy temple. They feasted and drank in the Lord's presence with great joy that day. And again they crowned David's son Solomon as their new king. They anointed him before the Lord as their leader, and they anointed Zadok as priest. So, if I'm recalling correctly, First Chronicles is, I think, leaving things off right about where 2 Samuel did. In any case, so we had, genealogy, brief little note saying, hey, remember the Israelites were exiled, some of them got to go back a bit early, and now it's either to those who still remain exiled, or to the ones who went back that this was written. But then it goes through, okay, so here's how things started to go, first with Saul as king, and then David, and you see that things were going well, right? But it was when people, especially the kings, disobeyed God, that it wasn't so great. Right? Kind of like leading to the eventual conclusion, or really it's kind of already stating the conclusion and purpose of all of 1st and 2nd Chronicles, really, to help the people see that, all right, look, we need to make sure we're obeying God. If we obey God, things go well, as you can see in these examples. If we disobey God, things go poorly, as you can see in these examples. And there's going to be a continuation of that theme with Solomon and the kings who followed him as it gets into 2nd Chronicles. But that's where it ends for now, with the end of David's reign. So, anyway, that's going to do it for the summary as well. If you missed previous abridged versions of books of the Bible, just have a look at the playlist that this video is a part of, and you'll probably get a link to it right toward the tail end of this video. And of course, if you want to get the full-length breakdown, discussion, read-through of each chapter, I have a playlist for that too, going through every single chapter, breaking it down, discussing it, giving some thoughts, and that will also continue on throughout the rest of the Bible. At least that's the plan, Lord willing. But yeah, so if you're interested in any of that kind of stuff as it gets released in the future, make sure you subscribe to the channel. You can also click the bell to get notifications when I upload new videos. Obviously, being that random Christian gamer, I do gaming videos too. You can tune into those if that's something you're interested in, but the notifications should probably give you an idea of what's going on, or at least when things are posted, so then you can take a look and be like, hey, I'm interested in this, I want to watch it, or not. But anyway, make sure you like this video if you enjoy it and want more of it. I'm probably going to do more anyway, but knowing that people think it's a good idea just helps push it to other people as well, honestly, as well as sharing if you have specific people who might want to watch this. And of course, look down in the description for links to all the social media pages and all that sort of good stuff. All the different ways to find my content and interact across the internet. Even support the channel a little bit if you're interested in that. And then, of course, if you got any thoughts or questions on this particular video or general Bible stuff or whatever you have in mind, leave it in the comments section down below all that. So that's going to do it for now. Hope you're all doing well. Hopefully I'll see you soon for another video, but whatever the case is, until next time, stay cool, people.